as time takes. They're probably on Instagram and Twitter, watching MySpace.
Alright everybody, what is the crack? It's Dylan from Mabfield here, back with another episode, and have another special guest on. Come from Dublin to be here, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So hey, I'm Colm. I don't manage, but I work with and I do PR and such for a crowd of Cork musicians. They all kind of release music together under the collective label of Hausu, sometimes Hausu Records. You can find us on all of our social media under Hausu Records. We're putting out like a lot of stuff this summer, and I just want to come on the show and like talk through what we're doing.
Yeah, so I think it's good just to get sort of more diverse guests on, because we've got a lot of artists, and I'm keen to branch out and have some more people on who can maybe give some insight into the industry itself and what it's like to work in it, rather than just focus per se on musicians and their output. So yeah, it's great to have you on.
Yeah.
So I mean, with Hausu Records, how did that come about?
Yeah, so a couple of the lads I work with, Jack Corrigan, Drew Linehan, Hassan Baker, they were in a band together called Repeater, and they put out an EP a while back called Who Sold It To Ya? And like they literally were on DistroKid filling out the form and everything, and they were like, oh, what's the name of your record label? And they just like had to type something in there, and just typed Hausu Records. Didn't think anything about it for like another couple of months until another friend of theirs was releasing an EP. That was the Ghost King of Zed Sweet Boy EP. That was the first time that like we actually had like a solid body of work, and like the lads from Repeater were like, we need to actually get PR behind this. Like you can't just drop something and expect it to like float by itself. So I got called in, and like I was just, so listen to this track, like you've written a few press releases before, because I had like done some like society stuff and organization in college. I listened to the EP, I was like, I'm serious about getting this out there. I wrote up a press release, I sent it about to a few places, it made 9 or 9, and like it kind of started off the whole career. And like I went to Cork a couple of weeks afterwards, I actually met some of these guys for the first time, and like ended up being like, yeah, I really want to see this project develop. And what's great about it is that like since that, the three lads are in Repeater, they've all set up solo projects, so like Actual Acid, Automatic Blue, Mothra, they all come out of members of that band. And we have like visual artists that we work with on all of our releases. We have like a very tight in-house system, and like some of the lads have experience, they've like studied mixing and mastering. I'm like handling the whole releasing, so we're a whole end-to-end collective. Like people will come in, they'll collaborate, they'll record together. Like we have all of our session musicians are mostly people who are already in Hausu, and like we can completely end-to-end control a release now, and that's what we're trying to really push with the like idea of Hausu as a collective, as a label, and so on.
That's really impressive actually, because I think that's something that a lot of musicians here struggle with, is like having that support system and being able to bring something from A to B, really.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to say it, but a lot of it's the money, right? Like, it costs a lot of money to get your tunes mastered. It costs a lot of money to go in and, like, look for PR and stuff like that. And, I mean, I'm kind of lucky in that I have a full-time job elsewhere, and I can devote my time to, like, doing press connects and actually, like, trying to do as much of it, like, without being like the most expensive PR man in the world. And it's not as successful, and I feel like there's going to be a point where a lot of lads will want to like graduate from having me do their work to actually paying for someone who's been in the industry for longer. But at the same time, we've gotten some like big moves already, like with just ourselves and what we do, like because we have like local support with mastering, because we can mix our own tunes, because we have this, like there's a lot of it there. And the support systems are really, like there are support systems like in most places in Ireland to do music, but they're so hard to find, and they're intimidating if you're a newcomer. Like the one I really want to shout out, like to anyone who's listening to this and makes music, like head down to Dublin or like send her an email or whatever. But there's this organization called First Music Contact, and Angela Dorgan is like the key figure in there. And like she'll sit down, she's been in the industry for like her entire working life essentially, and she will like tell you what are you doing wrong, like why should you wait to do things and all that. And like she will ultimately say to us like, you can't release this now, you don't have the traction to do it. She's willing to be critical and like push you as far as you want in the right direction. And that's, I think, really key, is having those conversations with people and like knowing your limits sometimes before you like jump in and do all this stuff. And again, like it is intimidating, and like you can go into like a room with someone and be like, I want to do all this, and they'll tell you you're wrong, you can't actually like make a living doing it this way. And yeah, I think that in terms of support structures and all the rest of it, like you can find people you can do this. Like the cliche is, oh, Brockhampton did it, so we can do it. But it is true. Like you can get your friends together and actually like put together a serious body of work, like find people who you connect with and do music together. And it's a model that I'm seeing working in Ireland right now. Like all the guys who did Anomaly in Waterford, even though they were originally like an events thing, they like have collaborated on a lot of music. They've gotten something together. Burner Records in Dublin, they're another obvious one. Cutting Heads in Cork is a big one. Sesh FM on more of the electronic side of stuff. Prescription, no, everything is happening in Limerick is sick right now. Like, and it all shows then when you can like do a big collaborative project. Like what Brown Sauce did for the Somewhere in Ireland videos, like there's nothing on that level, and it's crazy that was entirely self-organized. Like there's no like big professional PR head. Now, one of the guys who does Sesh FM actually works professionally in PR now. But that's the thing, right? It's like you can actually branch from doing the sort of stuff like from an amateurish or like a point of view where you're trying to break into it from the outside, and you can get there.
Oh man, the amount of life skills and different like networking abilities that you get from this sort of stuff is crazy. Like, because you have to force yourself to learn how to do it. Like, if you're an artist nowadays, especially if you don't have this sort of support network, you're gonna have to learn how to manage your stuff, how to post stuff online, how to even make the connections. And networking is like one of the hardest things to get right, I think, sometimes. Oh yeah, no, like I'm an incredibly shy dude, and like I've gone to a lot of Irish hip hop gigs, and I've been like, oh, that's Mango, and like I've never actually gone and said hi to a guy or whatever. Be like, yo, have you checked out our stuff and so, because I don't want to be that guy. But like, there's a level where like you have to learn how to like try and connect with people and like talk to the right people in a room without being a dickhead about it. I'm still working on that a lot, but like trying to get that network, because at the end of the day, when it comes to it, right, like you can drop a track on Spotify and you can submit it for like players consideration. If they don't pick it up and you don't have like, if you don't know people, if you're not sending emails to radio, if you're not sending emails to blogs, if you're not submitting it to Mabfield or whatever, like it's going to just sit there after 200 plays, and you know, maybe that should have been on SoundCloud, maybe. And like I mean, I've even with the support network we have, even when we like try and push our tunes out to a like broad audience, that still sometimes happens. Sometimes you just collide with the wall, and it's difficult to actually get people to push your tunes for you. And that's, I mean, part of it comes down to, I think, like, I'll be honest, from my perspective, like when I know people, I feel more receptive to stuff, but I think it's just human nature, you know, and these people that work, you know, in music are human as well, and like it might not work all the time, but if you're on first name basis with these people, you know, they're going to be more receptive to receiving your stuff. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, I had a chat with Nyler 9 a few times at like some of the Future Proof gigs or whatever, and what's funny is actually, and we were setting up the first Hausu collective gig, we did that out in Pot Duggins out in Ennistimon, County Clare. We were just like, we'll do it somewhere it's kind of off the map, give us a time to like fuck up once. If everything goes wrong, it won't be in front of a big audience, and then we'll actually have like the video of us doing like all the stuff in a nice venue. We can use that for like our festival submissions or whatever. I bumped into Nyler 9 while we were doing our sound check. He just happened to be in this like one small County Clare town. Just by chance. And like we had a word with him. Like, you're like, he wasn't able to stay around for the actual gig, but like, you know, it's like when you actually get someone that like you're on first name basis with, like you've got like some bit of a rapport going on, and they're a lot more receptive then to actually like pick you up the stuff. Yeah. And like that can be kind of disheartening, I guess, if you're like starting out and you don't know anyone or you haven't actually like connected with it, like. That can be awful. You can send a bunch of emails, get no replies, and just be like, what am I even doing here? But I didn't know anyone in the scene when I first started out here. I knew like one guy in Cork, Mike McGrath-Bryan, music journalist. I knew him from a few other things that I was doing. I had like a college radio show and so on, but I was never in the industry.
I'm the exact same. Like I literally knew no one. The first person that I actually got involved with, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying to create these weird videos that were never going to work. But anyway, I just messaged Leo Miyagi on Instagram. I was like, I like your music, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I talked to him. Then from that, went to a gig with him, met more people. You go to a gig, like, I go to gigs all the time by myself. Like, I'm in Dublin by myself to do this shit. And it's like, you end up making more friends, and it becomes easier as it goes along, but you really got to put yourself out there sometimes, I think. Yeah, no, I mean, that's it. Like, I've gone to a lot of gigs in Dublin just to, like, see the music. Like, I remember I wanted to see Big Pig and Keen Kavanagh, and I went to, like, the District Magazine launch there, and, like, I saw the tunes, and I was like, oh, this is class. Actually, that was when Marcus Woods dropped the demo. That was, like, the launch party for that as well. Sick. And, like, there was, like, so many people there that I just knew, and I wanted to, like, try and introduce, and I was just, like, it was still really early into it, and, like, end up like dropping the ball and like trying to make a lot of connections there,
But I think that like next time around, I'm going to be a bit better at it. Like I've actually, like as I said, I've done this enough times now where I've like had to go up to people and be like, "Yo, I actually emailed you about something the other day." Like there was this event that IMRO was doing for the Choice Music Prize. They like had a talk on like how to get your music on radio in Ireland, what's wrong about radio, what's getting better about radio in Ireland, and all that kind of stuff. And like I had to go and introduce myself to the head of music at 2FM and be like, "Yo, I emailed you the other day. Did you see that?" And he was like, "No, I didn't. But if you send me another email, say you met me here, I'll like get back to you right away."
I suppose they're probably getting so many people coming up to them and being like, I was speaking to you, blah blah blah. Like even I one time tweeted like my dream guest on the podcast would be Phil Taggart, you know, from Radio 1.
Yeah.
And he replied and was like, "Let's do it," and we were DMing a bit, blah blah blah. And like I was like, "Oh fuck's sake, this is gonna be class." The next time I meet him, like I'll say it to him or whatever, like, and it'll be fine. And when I did eventually meet him in person, he was just like, I was like, "Oh, you know, we were talking on Twitter. I said about coming on the podcast." He's like, "Which podcast?" Like he was like, "I know I was talking to like X and Y."
Yeah.
Like, these people have people talking to them online all the fucking time.
Yeah, like I'm definitely in this kind of thing where like the size of the Irish music industry and the limited number of channels you have to break through, like I've been out here like trying to get people's email addresses and contact them and be like, "Yo, could you please check this out?" And like I could send the same email. Like I don't do this, right? I don't go and like send the same follow up over and over.
Yeah.
But like I remember I wanted to try and get one of the tunes on the radio, and I sent it to like a DJ that we had like some past connections with, and she was like, "I'm actually not on air at the moment, but you should like send this on to my friend." I'd already sent the tune to her friend twice, and I'd be like, "Yo, like I've been told to do this again, so let's do this." And I got back like instantly, like, "I love this song, thank you." Like and it's like it is a case where again it's intimidating because there's like hard work and there's graft and there's like being aware that people will not have the time to read every email that goes into your inboxes. I have seen some of the like industry mailing lists and the number of people that like emails go out to, because I used to do some work with a college magazine, and like I had the entertainment at motley.ie email address for a little bit because I was doing some of their music reviews, and like I would just get flooded with like every press release about every like song that ever came out in Ireland. And even if I cared enough to like try and dive into that, like there's so much of it that isn't really what I'm into, and then I just lose interest. I don't check the emails. I know that there's like efforts to try and push against that now, like Play Irish Radio takes their submissions in through Yangaroo. I've heard through the grapevine that like 2FM is trying to do the 2FM Rising like submission system, similar to what Spotify has, similar to what
What way did that work?
And like, you know, so if you put out a song on Spotify, like if you actually like go to a distributor and you have your tracks on your distributor maybe 2 to 4 weeks before release, you go into Spotify then, and in your Spotify for Artists account you can see your upcoming releases. You can like say submit this for playlist consideration. You like select your genres, you select like all these like weird tags like what sort of instruments you use in the song, and like all this like specific things, and like you give a background, you like pick the location where it's from, you pick like your home city and stuff like that. And then that all goes to Spotify to be like considered. And equally, like BBC Introducing has this like big form you can fill out to like get stuff onto like your local BBC Introducing stuff. So they have like all the different regions that have their own BBC Introducing segments, and then they build up to the national radio segments where you have like the introducing track of the week or whatever, and then that goes on to the festival stages where they have like presence at festivals all throughout the UK. And 2FM like is trying to basically do that same thing in Ireland. They want to have like a model for getting artists who are unsigned or like independent through the ropes of actually like introducing themselves without having to send a million emails. And on one hand I'm like, this is like fantastic news because it means that I'm not out here like trying to like dig for people's email addresses, because you know there's so many things you have to do. Like you can send emails to radio hosts, you can send emails to like their producers or like other people who are involved in their show, and like try and make those connections. Like I know that there's like the Niler 9 music industry Facebook group that like loads of musicians are in, and there's like one of the producers on Today FM, Kate Brennan Harding, like would like often post like, if you want to send tunes into Today FM, send them out to me too, and like I will like bring them up to the presenters I work with and stuff like that. Like the whole industry like cares about it, but trying to like wade through the noise and trying to like find the right path into actually getting people to hear your music, it's like it's frustrating. And like that's why, I mean, if you have the money for PR and your music is good enough, it might be very well worth like buying in, getting a full agency behind what you do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people, there's this notion in music, especially rap music especially, I think, of this whole thing of independence. And, you know, I think it's like a myth that's spun to try and, I don't know maybe the reason behind it, but like trying to do everything by yourself and try and push things by yourself and not having like money behind you, like you can do it obviously independent of a record label, but all the people that are successful that are independent, like Chance the Rapper had one of the best managers in the game basically behind them from the start, you know. It's like they've got these industry support behind them. Just because I've got a record label means
right. Like I mean, like everyone likes to bring up the idea of, and I think I've already done it this episode, the idea of like Brockhampton as like their collective and like being able to work together and do releases that way, but like they were still managed by Christian Clancy, who like managed like Tyler the Creator and like long before they even had like signed to a record label. And it's the same thing like here in Ireland even, where, you know, plenty of people aren't on a major label, plenty of people aren't on an independent label, but like they still might be paying for PR, or they still might be like connected to some people already. They might have personal connections to certain journalists that others might be able to get. And that's not that I'm going to be in here and like start like naming industry plants, but like
I know for a fact that happens. Like I have friends that are journalists that work with artists essentially. It's like they sort of do things in return for each other. It's like, oh, you write about me on this big website, you know, I'll maybe play a show for you. One of your things. It's like that's how it works. I mean, that's the more DIY nature of it, but it's not independent, you know.
Like that's it, you know. Like Hausu is independent. I even would like hesitate to call Hausu a record label, because we don't do everything a record label does. Like we don't do physical production. We don't like make the vinyl. We make some cassette tapes, and we're going to try and start selling those. We like have a small merch operation, but like all that is kind of secondary to like the fact that we're just a collective primarily of artists. It's like the visual artists and musicians and me. I'm the only person with no creative bone in my body, and I'm not industry. I'm just out here trying to do what I love, basically. Because
I mean, you're saying you're not industry, but like you're applying the skills you've got from your day-to-day job into what you love. So like, I mean, what makes you industry is what I'm sort of
I think that industry is connections, and like, I mean, I call up the people who are trying to set up my Yangaroo account, and in order to get onto Yangaroo, which is like this distribution platform that people use, so like it's basically, I don't want to say it's basically a mailing list, but you can upload music there and it's distributed to like journalists, TV, radio, like even the people who like book the acts that play the Late Late Show on RTE, stuff like that. And I was like contacting them because they have a approvals process. They don't just like, they like will actually say, we're trying to like discourage people who are just making stuff in their bedrooms from like getting onto this platform. So I had to like talk with them, and I was like saying, well, like this isn't my full-time job. I'm not a record label manager. I'm not PR. And like they were saying, well, like, yeah, even if you are industry, you're still probably double jobbing. You're still probably like, there's not enough money in music at the moment to really pull through. And
I mean, that's kind of causing the downfall of a lot of things. Like we were talking about some independent blogs and stuff that are sort of crashing down now because of that. Like
our biggest supporter ever for what we do at Hausu was a guy called Remy Connolly. He ran like Remy's Best of Music and Film, or whatever the name morphed into over time. And like, we sent him Ghost King is Dead second EP under Hausu, the This Is Doubt EP, and he loved it. He was like, I want to premiere this. He actually, when he did the research, he listened to all of his older stuff, even the stuff that's only on Bandcamp, did an interview. We actually ended up getting like his EP of the year and his end of year lists. He like said in one of his last ever articles on the website, he was like, I really love this new Ghost King is Dead track. I think there's, I don't want to overuse the word, but I think there's a genius about the way that Matthew Corrigan goes about stuff. And he'll never write about us again, because he's never going to write again, because it's just not worth it for him. And he wasn't getting the output, or just like he even said in his like closing post, he was like, I really love doing this, but sometimes I would get sent stuff and I'd write it up without being passionate about it, and that's when I should probably stop. And that's unfortunate. Nyler 9 used to write up stuff in The Ticket and the Irish Times, and pretty much everyone who ever wrote for The Ticket just got told like one day, we're going to redesign next week and you're all going to go off. And that's how it's been forever. Like, the Irish infrastructure isn't built to keep us running as long as that. Unfortunately, we have to keep switching things up and keep like pushing for new stuff, because like RTE isn't putting the time or effort behind Irish music as much as they could be doing. They're trying to get there. Like I said, 2FM Rising is a great thing, and there's good people in RTE who like will play our stuff, but like we can't rely on that alone. We can't rely on the online stuff alone. Like Remy Connolly bowed out this year. Niler9 had to set up a Patreon account as like a alternative source of income.
It's just like a trend that's going through music in general, because like even for musicians, you know, you don't sell CDs anymore. You know, you're not your streams pay for all. It's the kind of thing where you're having to become creative with merch and all that sort of things. You're having to put on more shows, and maybe you're kind of diluting your image a bit then, aren't you? You're constantly playing shows. Like,
it's weird. It's now way cheaper to do a run of cassette tapes than to sell CDs. And it's like, we have like some cassette runs set up for the future. We're going to do ones for Ghost King is Dead, Actual Acid, and so on. But the like hard sell of like, you should buy our music on cassette, because like, you know, it's just your way of owning the music, because I know you're not going to go on iTunes or Bandcamp to download MP3s of our stuff. You know, like,
but I mean, that sort of stuff, it's like memorabilia basically, isn't it? Because like with vinyl, like I do play quite a lot of vinyl. I just like physically having it, and having like it in a like physical manifestation that's maybe slightly different. You know, like I've got Flower Boy on limited edition gold. You know, it's just stuff like that.
And like, it's funny you mentioned Flower Boy, because like that's, I think, like the core example of like that took, I think, like 9 months to ship, didn't it, or something ridiculous that.
I was waiting. And I ordered it in April and got it like nearly a year later.
Like because even if you're in the scene and you like your full industry, your major label, like the waiting times to put something and press it to vinyl is ridiculous. Like you can read up about, but basically all of the vinyl pressing plants like closed like decades ago.
Do you know who owns a lot of the ones in America?
Who?
Jack White.
Actually,
he bought a lot of them a long time ago, and he owns a lot of them.
Yeah, because like Jack White does some incredible shit with vinyl. Like he will have like live from Third Man Studios, or like he'll have someone come in and they'll press a vinyl of the actual recording that day, and like that's incredible. But like, there's Dublin Vinyl now, actually. There's an actual pressing plant in Dublin. A lot of Irish artists are finding success in actually working there and skipping a lot of the queues associated with the ones in Europe. But
I mean, there's that one. Is All City Records? Is it based in Dublin?
Yeah, All City is the like record label, and they make a lot of stuff. But as far as you know, Dublin Vinyl is the actual pressing plant. Like, so like All City would be like, it'd be the same as if I, as Hausu Records, got onto Dublin Vinyl. I was like, let's press this stuff. But like All City are incredible, and like what they've done with their whole setup is they have like the All City shop, and they've got faction barbers in the basement. They've got like the graffiti store going on, but like they've split their actual record label into a couple of different sections. So like they've got Archival, which is like the one where they do like reissues of rare Irish music from the past. It's like worth revisiting. They did like Michael O'Shea had this weird instrument that he made out of a door, and he recorded an album with it. And like the guys from Archival were like, let's find this, like fix up the sound a little, let's put it out there. They did this series called Buntu Srinka of like old Irish jazz music. They've got like one called Queer Groove, which is just like funk music from Ireland back in the 60s and stuff like that. All this like forgotten stuff, they dig that up. Archival's one. I think Pear is an All City label as well, which is more electronic music focused. I know they worked with Kojak and the Soft Boy for the Delhi Daydreams vinyl release. Like they've got their fingers in so many pies at the moment. It's great because like they care about the music and they have the resources. On Alt City they put out the Gangster Doodles compilation. The packaging on that is incredible. But like even just like the roster on that, you can say that you know you have Kojak and Madlib on the same album. It's incredible.
It's fucking mad.
I love that, and like. For a while now, I've been talking to a few people in Hausu about like, let's do something that reaches beyond us and into the scene. Like, let's do a collab. Let's like get compilation album. Like, get people to work across borders because we're connected to a couple of people in Irish music. We're like we know like people in the right places, and it's like maybe we should genuinely try and foster collaborations between those corners.
I mean, you've already done a couple of efforts that I thought were brilliant, like the track with Pat Lagoon. Is it Ghost King is Dead? Hollow?
So we had the Ghost King is Dead track Hollow a while back, and we originally wanted to do this whole thing of taking each of the tracks from that project, like working with other people in Ireland to like do new versions of it, and we gave the we gave Hollow to Automatic Blue, and what he found is he like ended up with his hip hop beat, and he wanted to like work with Pat Lagoon on it, and like we sent it over to Pat, we got it back, and like it was incredible. I still remember the first time I heard that line, like knock knock, who's there? It's just like the way that like he had the beat like built at like drops at that point and everything. I love that track, and it was like so unexpected because like even the way that the Ghost King is Dead verse of it sounds like a rap verse when it's like with that beat. It's like, I love that, and I'd love to do more stuff like that. I mean, I think we're trying to, I don't know if we've even reached out yet, but there's like a couple of remixes upcoming for Automatic Blue tracks, and like there's one where like this would be fucking perfect for Pat Lagoon. We're trying to like push more into hip hop, because for a while like there's some rapping in the band Repeater, and Hassan Baker, the vocalist from that group, is now like recording his own like hip hop debut. It's going to be 4 separate tracks that release over the summer, I think. We haven't like completed the like timeline for it yet, but like we want to probably after that like work more with the hip hop scene, because like I'm always conscious that people might look at us and like think that we're kind of being pretentious, or we're trying to like isolate ourselves, or trying to like put a quality bar, because like I know that like someone in Cork like had said to like one of us that before they actually got to know us and they got to like see us do our thing for real, like that we were kind of maybe like that, and I've been trying to push against that. I really want us to engage with the scene beyond us.
I think just from another perspective, in terms of like hip hop, it has the most room for collaboration across genres. I think just purely because like if you think of a genre, it's been blended with hip hop at some point. Like we even see like country hip hop. There's the most room for it there. But like I see what you mean about like feeling like maybe you're slightly isolated and people think it's like a potential thing. But I mean, it takes time. Like you're focusing on your own thing. It's not as if you're like blocking people out. And you've already shown when you've had the likes of Pat Lagoon and stuff jumping on tracks that you're willing to do it.
Now I remember like we had like Ghost King is Dead Tokyo, one of like the like dreariest, like most down tempo things we ever had, and Evan Miles heard that and he was like, I want to remix this, and he made an acid techno version of Tokyo, and like he plays out an Anomaly, and apparently it like goes off, and I'm like, how do you even think to do this? And it's like getting those like altered angles. We had Alex Goff and Marcus Woods set to appear in that remix project as well, and it never really landed. It just the timing didn't work out. Some of the stuff that they started working on ended up kind of morphing in a way that they kind of became other songs that might appear in other projects. But like again, I don't want to like say anything right now that would force their hand or like try I shelved that or whatever. But
it's just funny how things felt that way.
It is like I mean, like Hausu has like one project on it called White Wine, or like they have 2 songs out, and those songs were literally recorded like one night. Like the lads were over for a sesh, they had a few cans, they were like, let's make an EP right now. They did it in a night. They sent one of the tracks over to Alex Goff, who put a verse on it. We literally put it out like a week after we recorded it. We got that on radio, and like it's like there's power in doing like this like stuff off the cuff and like collaborating and seeing where it goes.
100%.
And like I think even if you look at like some of what Software Records have done, like tracks like Nightlink, where they've like pooled their talents together and like see what direction it goes, like, I think that's a really clever move for them. And like in terms of where we're going next as Hausu, like I'm still trying to, I don't want to professionalize it to the point where we're just a label. But I also like feel like, you know, there's still a lot of room between us and like the likes of Fusion Lab or Softboy, where they've been around the block a few times and they like have a very precise strategy for what they're doing. I think we're like still a bit above some of the like smaller guys who are like who like skipped SoundCloud entirely, like have only ever known a world where DistroKid is a thing and everything goes straight to Spotify and everything's a big release campaign with pre-saves and all that. But like for us, it's like trying to find a balance of what works and what actually lets us put out the music we want to do.
I mean, from your experience, like what sort of advice would you give to musicians that are maybe trying to work out like, okay, how do I do a press run? Because I've met a hell of a lot of people who make good music, but quite frankly, don't have a fucking clue how to put out their music to make it land and make it, sit with people properly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think about this a lot because there's so much Irish music that I love, and especially in Irish hip hop, where like I play it every day. It's on my playlists, and I actually like look at the play counts, and like it's just not landing, and it hasn't made the connections. So like there are a couple of things that like we do with everything we do at Hausu, which is we have like in-house visual artists. We actually like work with people who are professional graphic designers. We have the whole like look and feel of everything up to scratch. We have our website set up with all the links. I make like these press releases that have like
press releases that are visually stimulating are so important, I think, rather than just having like a Word document.
Yeah, so like I put all the press releases on like a hidden section of our website that like we just like send a link out to people, be like, yo, check out what we've got coming up. And like we have like press photos like that we take with photographers that we work with often. We have like photographers that we trust in Cork and like in Dublin that we work with often. We have like crisp edits on all of our things. Like editing a photo shoot, like it makes so much of a difference. Like you can just do a lot in like Adobe Lightroom or whatever to like bring up the quality and do it quickly. I write all the press, and like it's not difficult. Like I wrote the press for Breakfast by Alex Goff actually, and he sent me a couple of notes, and like the actual release is mostly just like expanding on some of the notes, telling a bit of a story behind the track, telling a bit of a story behind the artist, giving some notes on like this is what you should expect from hearing it.
I do think though that there is a skill to copywriting, and it's important to get it right, because I definitely get sent through some that's written by the artist themselves, and it just is like such and such is trying to claim world dominance with this track, and it's like you've got to know your audience and know what way you're presenting yourself. Your
press release isn't like you big upping yourself or hyping or flexing. Like your press release is like, I'm talking to someone who I want to do business with. Yeah. It's telling the truth. And that's like something that's like very important. Where like I put out the press release for Antoinette by Automatic Blue, and I actually like I wrote the most ridiculous shit for that. And that like I remember I was like, Automatic Blue has returned from his awful punk band. So it was like after being eliminated in the first round of UCC's Battle of the Bands. So I was like all like saying this like weird shit to like try and get people to actually engage with the song itself. And it's a great track, and I'm really proud of it. But like it's all about like if you don't write well, you surely know someone who writes well.
It's easier to get writers than it is to get photographers.
And like I mean, just have a proper press. Have someone preferably who isn't the artist. If you don't trust that you can like engage with a journalist or whatever, but like people can write their own press releases, it's not that hard, but like visually engaging, good photographs, artwork, private SoundCloud link, and like a link to like download a WAV file or whatever. The most important thing that I have to say, like the biggest takeaway, is you can't just mass email 100 journalists like check out my SoundCloud. Like you have to be like, I want to talk to you because you reviewed this and this. They're in the same kind of vein. I listen to your show. I like your show. I'd like to like appear on your podcast or whatever. But like you have to have a specific call to action whenever you reach out to someone. You have to be like,
action is the key phrase.
Yeah, you have to be like, if you email someone a press release, you say to them, I want you to play this song on your radio show because it fits in with like playlists, and you give examples, you do the research, you find the connects that matter. I sent like so much stuff to RTE2FM over the years, like to people like Louise McSharry and Dan Hagerty. I was like, yo, check out my song. And then the first time that I did like a big like proper run on it was when I was doing Tokyo by Ghost King is Dead, and I like wrote every email person. I sent way fewer emails for that than any other release we had done previously. And I wrote them like very personally. I was like, yo Dan, I love the show that you're putting together. I know it's that like you posted your playlist, you've been playing this kind of stuff lately. I think this is a really good fit. I want you to be the first play of this. I want you to have the radio premiere of the song. And it carries through. Like if you build those personal connections, if you give people reasons to care about what you're doing, then that's it. And like I think that's the biggest takeaway. If you're an artist, you're like, why am I not getting like the Thin Air to write about my music? Why am I not getting Nile or Nine to write about my music? It's there where you just like provide as much resources as possible. And that's another thing. Like, don't just come out of the studio with a track, be it the studio being your bedroom or an actual professional recording facility, upload that straight to DistroKid, and then like just be like, yo, I've got a song coming out. Like, give it. Usually I do 2-week lead runs, but I really want to push to having a month's lead time.
I think it's important for like journalists, especially in my experience, to time before it drops to like
Yeah.
actually listen to it, because a lot of the stuff you want them to have something out the day it drops to help with the
Yeah.
you know the sort of bounce that it gets when it drops.
Like, what the thing that I have is that if you actually like read what journalists say, because like people like Niler9 have written like, here's how you submit something to Niler9, and here's how you get like enough from me to care about it or like follow up on it. And he will always say like, my email queue is so long, and I will read every Irish song that is sent to me, but I will need like 2 weeks max, 2 weeks minimum before release to actually get something out there. And I've even like sent stuff into blogs now where I've done like 2 weeks before and not gotten anything back. And it's like people who I have a conversation open with, I know like are interested in the stuff, but they still haven't gone back to me. And that's just because like I don't have enough lead time. Like I would say like get that stuff on Spotify for Artists, like have your playlist submission ready 3 or 4 weeks before you put in. Have like as much time as possible, because it's funny, if you even have like a track in say 4 weeks before release on Spotify for Artists, there's like a good chance that might even like travel to like an international playlist or something there.
100%.
But like I think like a lot of people aren't doing lead time. Like I know like there are people out there, and like you'll know it because like they'll like just like announce, oh, I just uploaded this, it's going to drop next Wednesday. It's like, why are you dropping on a Wednesday? Like
Should be on a Friday, essentially.
like New Music Friday is like the general rule of the industry, and we did a test recently on it. Actually, we put out Ghosting Is Dead's Deflector on the anniversary of another track. We like had like an exact year between them, and it was like for thematic reasons or whatever. But like the Wednesday release was actually like harder to plan, because like if you drop on a Friday, that means that you can have like a blog premiere on like Tuesday or Wednesday, radio premiere on the Thursday, have like some social media stuff happening Thursday night, and like build in the hype of other people. When we dropped Antoinette by Automatic Blue the other day, we were like, I set up a group DM with Pat Lagoon and Marcus Woods. I was like, we're all dropping, like let's do something together, let's do a radio stream or something. And like I made like a playlist of like all the songs like by people who I work with, and like the one thing I've actually started doing now is when I make a release, I have like this like Hausu news playlist, and like I like rename it and like change the content of it every time we're doing something new. And like I find that actually like helps, because like if you search for, people will actually search for something on Spotify before it comes out. Like if they see like, oh, it's not out yet, but I'll follow this playlist, and then they'll like see it in their sidebar tomorrow and stuff like that. Like there are ways that you can actually like build up some traction, build up some hype about, like there are things that people do on Spotify that are like outrageous. Like I don't know if you've ever like searched for a song that's unreleased on Spotify. So like let's say, I don't know, like a track that's on Spotify, Travis Scott, Maria I'm Drunk.
Yeah.
And you say to like just like, Alexa, play Maria I'm Drunk by Travis Scott. It's not on Spotify, but there is a playlist with that name on Spotify. So then some random like struggle rapper will just pop up on your Alexa.
It's kind of like, okay.
And like I don't endorse doing stuff like that, but I do respect it.
Yeah, my brother was telling me about there was a unreleased Playboy Cardi track that had a certain name, but it wasn't on Spotify.
Yeah.
Some kid had like got the name of the track, and
Yeah.
and it was so popular that on like SoundCloud how it had been uploaded by someone.
Yeah.
It had like 1 million plays or something, and someone took the name, put it on Spotify, and people were searching it and bringing up his track. Like,
Yeah.
it's smart marketing. Like,
I've seen so much stuff happen on Spotify. Like there was like a point where there's a bunch of unreleased Brockhampton stuff uploaded as Breakhamptons. There was like a fake Kanye West account called Yeezy that had stuff that was unreleased of his. Like people will do anything for like a quick buck, and like it's actually, Spotify is a wild west. I had like a brief conversation over Twitter with this guy who so he works for Spotify, and he has this whole system where he detects like micro genres, like little scenes as they happen. So if you actually search for like Cork indie, you'll actually find like a auto-generated playlist by this guy called The Sound of Cork Indie, and like his bot just picks up on the stuff. I remember I was like listening to one of them, and there's like loads of like really short like weird ambient tracks, and I like DM'd, I was like, yo, I've never heard of these people, why are they on this? And he's like, oh yeah, like people will actually like just generate music and like make like 20-30 track albums, upload them to Spotify, have like some listening farm somewhere else trying to get royalties off it.
Well, so they're like creating it, so it's
They're,
being
they're,
detected by
yeah,
these bots and getting plays.
they're,
and people going off.
like they're creating fake music, uploading it, and then having people like elsewhere in the world stream that music back to them, and they're making money off of that. They're making money off of like an entire like fake ecosystem of musicians and listeners. Now, what money you can make off that? Probably nothing. But like if you look up, there's like videos all over Twitter and YouTube. You can actually see like stream farms in action, like walls of like remotely controlled mobile phones, all on Spotify, all streaming the same songs.
Wild.
And like you can talk to someone on Spotify, like, yeah, no, we know this is happening, and like we filter this stuff out.
Okay.
Like you can do it. It used to be a case where like you had people buying Instagram followers, SoundCloud plays, all that for clout, and it just doesn't mean anything, you know?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I was speaking to a couple of people the other day, and it's like when you find an artist's Instagram and they have, say, 20,000 followers,
Yeah.
and they have like professional photos, it does make you think about their music differently sometimes psychologically. I think
Yeah.
like, I do get caught up in it sometimes, but then if you like step aside, like don't think of the art, like try not to think of the art and just listen to the music, like isolated, you're like, it doesn't stand up as well, but it definitely makes me question stuff like, whoa, should I know this guy? Like, he's got this many followers, like, and that's definitely a path people are taking to try and get attention.
No, I do that too, right? I'm not going to name names. There's a Cork-based rapper who has 10,000 Instagram followers, and like he always tags like his Instagram posts as like in Atlanta, in Brixton, in London, in Tottenham, and it's like it's pathetic, and like
it's fucking bullshit.
like he obviously has however many followers because he does meme stuff online, but like his tunes aren't getting plays, and like the only reason why I want 10,000 Instagram followers, I can get the swipe up feature on my stories.
Man, I've been thinking about that just to like direct people and stuff quicker. Like it's just handy, but it's like someone was saying the other day to me as well. It's like there used to be like SoundCloud rappers and like there's like Instagram rappers that don't put out music. Basically, they have like 1 or 2 tracks that are trash, but they're calling themselves rappers for like the aesthetic or something. Like it's really weird, and I don't enjoy it. Yeah, no, I don't. And like for the most part, with a few exceptions, the Irish scene is like it's kind of isolated from that entire like genre of clout chasing, and that like if you are getting attention in the Irish rap scene, if people are putting you on playlists, if people are booking you for gigs and all that, it usually means that you're actually doing something that's worth listening to. Yeah, and like that's why it's actually exciting that like you can go through like even the official Spotify or even like other playlists, and you can find like really just solid tracks from any amount of people, and it's just really worth listening to. I can go for that. Like and generally, like speaking, I would say that I feel like there's been a bump in the amount of attention that's coming towards Irish hip hop, even by like more industry people. We're seeing like another Spotify playlist created by a guy from Dear Fact TV for just Irish hip hop. And do you think we're getting to a point where there's enough quality people breaking through? I mean, where do you sort of see it?
The way I see it, right, like there's a couple of things that are happening right now that have me kind of hopeful, right? Like, if you look at, like, whenever a new Versatile track drops, there's, like, enough people who are, like, genuinely, like, I really like this, I want to playlist this, I want to get out there. And they have, like, genuine, like, there are people out there who will buy tickets to a Versatile gig any time like that. And, like, sure, they're on a different level, and I don't really, like, enjoy their stuff, or I don't think they're going anywhere that I want them to go. Like, that, but what it says to me is that, like, the idea of Irish rap is something that is catching on, and it is something that people are interested in, and what you need is the support systems, you need the infrastructure. And, like, we're lucky that Spotify cares enough that you have, like, people like Austin Darbo and so on pushing for more Irish rap playlists, more, like, conversations with people who are involved. They had like the Diffusion Labs take over. They had, I think you mentioned someone from Darfuck TV was like
Prod Solo, I think
like there's a lot of stuff going on there. And even like again, like off platform, YouTube, Darfuck TV, they copied the link up model extremely well. I mean, I wouldn't know how Irish drill could be a thing without them having that connection there. And like this is why I think we need to think about like what kind of systems can we build to bring attention to bring support to get people talking about Irish music that is kind of outside of the realm of like, if Spotify doesn't playlist you and your music is still good, what then? Because like, if you get on the right Spotify playlists, if the algorithm is told to like you, you can run off and get thousands of plays. Like these people might never follow up on you. Like you might just be background music to someone. And
that's the thing where I always bring up to people, like streams, although they're important nowadays, at times like I really think they don't mean shit, because a lot of people have these songs in their playlist and aren't really aware of the artist themselves. They only really know you, like you said, like filler music, background music to whatever's going on in their life.
So there's this whole thing, right? I really do want people who like listen to this podcast to check it out. But like, you know the way that like Spotify like heavily pushes these like chill background music, study music kind of playlists? There are fake artists on those who have negotiated lower royalty rates to Spotify, and Spotify saves money by putting them in there, and like people just don't know about it. But you can look into it, right? If you go on Spotify and you search up, like, I think there's like an artist called Nora, and the entire artist is just 3 tracks, just 3 piano instrumentals, and each of them has like hundreds of millions of plays. And like if you go in like they're like, where have people discovered this artist? It's all like peaceful piano music, study music, lo-fi study music, stuff like that. Like there is a Spotify account I think I found the other day called Sleepy John or something like that. And like, so Sleepy John has like this album up and it's like relaxing ocean sounds. And it's like 177 30-second long tracks that like you just meant to like put them on, and he gets paid the same royalties off that as if someone played like a 10-minute long song on an actual artist's account. Like just again, the threshold of exactly needs. And like there's like Spotify is just an audio source for some people. Like sometimes, like if you run a cafe or if you're like in a public place, or you're like doing like if you're at a party and someone just puts on like throwback summer pop hits playlist on Spotify, no one's going to notice or care. But like that's the thing, it's like there's one artist under Hausu that has one song out, Arthur Valentine, Selfish, 30,000 plays on Spotify, most of them from Release Radar and Discover Weekly, algorithm generated playlists. We have no clue what about the song got it to a point where Spotify was like comfortable serving it up automatically to like we could get 1,000 new listeners in a week, they would disappear next week, and it would keep happening. And you can see obviously the statistics where these people are from. They're not just like in Ireland, they're all over the place, I'm assuming. Australia, United States, United Kingdom. Like a minority of listeners in Ireland, even though and like that's crazy, right? Because like we're at a point now where actually like Arthur Valentine's going to play a gig supporting Circa Richardson, and MCD booked that. And again, he's one song out, and MCD reached out to him directly and was like, yo, we want to book you. And like we pushed him less, and we've like had fewer conversations with bookers about Arthur Valentine than other artists that we work with. But something picked up about him and the music that he makes. I don't know, was it like the manual decision made by a Spotify editor, or if it's like some like anomaly of like this guy has like one song out and it's doing numbers, so let's like keep pushing it further. Is a case where like someone we have who's more established, who has more tracks with a lower play count, is going to get ignored by the system. We can't figure that out, and like it's an opportunity for us to like keep pushing the music. And again, like I never would let a song come out under Hausu that I'm not proud of, but like trying to figure out what works, what gets successful, what gets interest, and what doesn't is actually like it's a complete numbers game. I mean, God knows said it right when he just called it big boy algorithm. Like there's just no way of knowing how this thing can work sometimes, and you think like especially with Spotify, with YouTube and some other platforms, you actually there's a bit more understanding behind it, but with Spotify it just seems. But like even with YouTube, it's really weird like what picks up on YouTube, because I think their algorithm is like designed to like reward watch time. But like there's like I remember the YouTube algorithm at some point just got really into Japanese city pop music. So like every single song that I would like listen to, like the up next would be like Plastic Love by Hiroshi Hancho or whatever, and like it was like I don't know what to do with this. Like what like I like this tune a lot, but why now? Why me? Why here? And I think that's it, right? Like we may be at a point where we will lose our understanding of how music discovery happens, and that's really sad to me. And that's why you need to build the next generation. Like the one thing I will say about it is that like Play Irish right now, they're a like constant radio stream coming out of Dublin of Irish music. They make all their own playlists by hand, and like there aren't DJs on it yet, but they're kind of still in the launching phase. But like the tracks that they put on their A-list, the tracks that like you tune in and you listen to often, like they'll play Crown by God knows like 10, 15 times a day sometimes, even though it is it's a weird track. It's a weird beat, and it's a fantastic track and deserves the attention. But I could kind of understand the Spotify editor being like, maybe this doesn't fit on this like smooth hip hop playlist, you know?
The plucky strings and stuff are a bit off key, but
it's like, well, not off key, but like it's harsh, it's weird and it's exciting, but like that's something that I feel like it's a track that like a human DJ or a human curator will put on. I don't know if like it would have the same traction on like this like the background ability of Spotify playlists, the ability for people to just put on and forget about a Spotify playlist. And we don't know like if we get on those how many people are going to keep coming back. Like everyone talks about the Spotify playlist like New Music Friday UK, and like if you look at who gets on that, like it's a mix of everything. Like there you can have like Irish rap, like American indie music, like random electronic acts. I remember I was scrolling through it one night to see if a Hausu act got on it. I was like, there's a Diplo remix of Old Town Road. It's such a like random selection. But if you get on that playlist, you get 20,000 plays in your first day.
Yeah, I mean the thing about you saying about having other platforms is important though, because like the artists that I get invested in, it's not from finding them on a Spotify playlist. You know,
right.
I think you need to have like interview formats. You need to have YouTube videos where you're getting to the artist physically see them and get some sort of connection. Yeah,
I'm having this conversation in a lot of places that aren't even like tangential to Irish hip hop. There's a Irish electronic music label that I really like called Pat Lagoon, and I was talking to the manager of that label, and he's really into the idea of like, what if we just abandoned Spotify? What if we made an Irish platform where when we make our own playlists, we like put all of our tunes on it. You pay like a tenner a month and you get access to Irish music there.
Yeah.
And like you can pay whatever for downloads and so on, but like we divest from Spotify. We take ourselves out of it. Like it's almost like a trade union for music.
Yeah.
And like it's a bold move, and like I want to work on it, but I also don't think I could convince anyone else in Hausu to do it. I don't think I could convince like us to get that level of traction. But I do think it's important for us to think about like
establishing yourself outside Spotify.
Establishing ourselves outside of Spotify. And even if it's at a point where like Apple Music comes into Ireland and they want to have more of a Irish presence and they want to hire Irish journalists, and then like say somehow, I don't know, maybe the two people who still have Deezer accounts are like getting Irish playlists there, you know? Like I think that we do need to move past it, like both on like a platform level of we need to maybe reduce our reliance on single channels to get our things out there, and also like about like how we treat our Irish artists in the media. I have this like Spotify playlist I update every now and then called Hausu Irish Essentials.
Yeah, I got my follow-up.
And like, I used to, like every time I used to add someone to that, I used to tag people and I'd be like, yo, you're on Hausu Irish Essentials now. And we made like a conscious decision a while back that we wouldn't advertise a playlist, we wouldn't tag people, we just have it run in the background. We have on like the artist playlist section of the Spotify. But that like, we were just like thinking like, people will see us adding them and be like, oh, they just want clout. You know, like it's like I'm not tagging Kojak on this because I like his music. I'm tagging Kojak on this because I want him to retweet this playlist that has my music on it too. And I ended up I was like, I'm going to remove all Hausu artists from this playlist. I'm going to like never advertise it again. And like I just do it to, like as a personal record of like the things that I like. But like I'm always kind of wary of like, if I'm the person who's running a platform or if I'm the person who's doing it, people might think that I'm just doing it because I have something to sell too. And that's why, I think having this like, I mean, I guess put it this way, Eric from District isn't making any music, Niall from 909 isn't making any music, you're not making any music right now. And therefore, if you feature someone and you like are saying like this is genuinely something you need to hear, I probably would trust that more coming from someone who isn't like trying to dig in. But I don't know, that's kind of something that I found. That was a dilemma that I faced. Like when I told people in Hausu I was going to do Irish Essentials again for 2019, they were like, yeah, but don't make a big deal about it, because they were
for real,
like, because then like there were people like, there are artists I work with who are like, we don't want to like be seen as like trying to like get our name out there in this way.
See, for me it's a weird one, because I do want people to follow the players I've got, because I genuinely take a lot of time trying to I listen to like think of the different tracks. I'm even thinking removing the odd track, but I really want to curate what I think is the best music out there. But again, it's like, do I just like let people then come to it and gravitate towards it, or do I try and get it out there? Because I want to create this service for people where they can come and they can be lazy and they can come and I can just go, right, here you go. There's the best music you should be listening to.
But the thing is that you're not front page on Spotify. You're not the thing that people will see when they click on your like when you open up Spotify. It's not going to be a case of like, oh, we like this playlist that Mabfield made, and I feel like that's something they should be doing. But again,
it's not gonna happen.
and like the other thing is I'm not going to like email like Spotify people and be like, yo, like, why isn't Hausu Irish Essentials on the front page? Like all of my 15 followers are like but I think playlisting is in this weird position now where unless you're a big media outlet, unless you're like RTE or even like Nile or 9 or something with an established audience, it's going to be really difficult to like get people to follow a playlist. And when you've got 30 followers who might have like your playlist way buried in their sidebar, they're not checking in on it again, it's like it's weird. I haven't cracked that aspect of it, but as I said, I really want to avoid doing that kind of stuff, doing content marketing, being like, we make music too, and you should check out these guys that we like, and we're going to tag all of them, and like
you're just going to like genuinely have a playlist that's got good shit in it, and just, if people want to hear it, then it's there.
Because like the thing is, right, like as I said, I've got a full-time job, and although I really like, I'm passionate about getting everyone in Hausu to like the peak of their potential, like I'm in this first of all because like I love music. I'm in this first of all because I listen to music and I want to get involved with it and I want to connect with like my scene on a deeper level than just being someone who goes to gigs. And what that means is that like, I mean, I've listened to a lot of really great stuff that just isn't picking up the numbers, and like I don't have the influence yet to like push that up, like
I think that's like kind of my dream, to be able to like hear stuff that people maybe aren't, which I do. I hear stuff that not a lot of people are noticing, and then have the authority to be like, fucking listen to this guy, sincere, fucking listen to this girl's track, it's amazing,
it's entirely just like this whole other world yet that we aren't able to access, and that's why I say we need to start thinking about how do we do this off Spotify. How do we, like, for instance, other genres are really good at it. Dublin Digital Radio like represents like a lot of the techno and like more interesting experimental stuff that happens in Dublin, and they also like, that's connected to a whole scene of like community run festivals and like initiatives that like come from people who care about it. I think that like we as a scene need to collaborate more on events, collaborate more on even like doing like a series of things that runs over time. Like I found out about so much music when I got invited to something that Tebby Rex were doing in the Bernard Shaw. They like had the Word Up Weekender in the Bernard Shaw, and Daffy from Tebby Rex was doing a lot of work there on like programming the event, and he was like, I want someone to do debate on like authenticity in Irish hip hop. I was like, yeah, no, I'll do that. But I stuck around for the event, and like I saw Y-Axis for the first time there. I saw RTL for the first time there, and like ever since that, I've been like, I'll log on to Twitter like once every few months. I'll be like, why the fuck does no one listen to RTL? RTL is fucking fantastic. He's not getting traction. What's up with that? And like, to be fair, what I do like about it is that I find that there are platforms that just don't care about it. Like, I mean, I know that, for instance, when RTL's album dropped, District were like right first in line to cover it, and like a lot of other places didn't like pick that up or cover it, and I think it's a solid body of work. I think the same about like, maybe, I don't want to like put anyone on blast, but like Leo Miyagi has dropped 2 albums in the space of a year, is probably like already putting together work for a third, and like District have been kind to him, a couple of other sources have been kind to him, but how do we actually get to a point where he's getting the attention that he rightfully deserves for his music? He's doing gigs, he's doing music. How do we actually like influence the entire economy that people are actually caring about it as much as they should?
That's a big question.
It's a huge question.
I
think that's like, I'm not going to say it like try and set your tone, but that's the question that governs Mabfield as a whole, right? Like, that's like, you want to be able to have that influence, you want to be able to push this stuff, and you want to like ultimately tell these artist stories in a way that makes sense. How do you actually make the most of that? How do you actually go and influence this like broad spectrum of things where ultimately Spotify is going to want control over how people discover audio, like in general, not just music, but actually stuff like that like background noise stuff.
Even
like podcasts. They bought so many podcast companies in the last few months, and they did that because like they want to be the one place.
Yeah, just have a monopoly over it.
And like it's at this point where like I feel like really skeptical about this like duality of, you know, respecting Spotify for putting like effort and time into curating Irish playlists and working with Irish artists. Like they've done so much for people like the Fusion Lab and like, but also being the only way to do this kind of stuff if you care about getting the streaming numbers up, if you care about like getting
one way to do it.
And like I'd love to say the numbers don't matter and all that, but like again, like we've got one guy who's on who's doing his first trial to play with MCD, and he's the guy with the most fun. Yeah. And you know,
in terms of like genuine fans and stuff, like numbers maybe aren't so important, but like with getting booked with shows and stuff, it's so important. Because these bookers need metrics to look at when they're doing this kind of stuff. Who's going to sell the most? Who's got, you know, the most people engaged in their music?
Yeah, you know, 300 Entertainment, the guys who signed Young Thug, they have investment money from Google, and I've heard that they actually like have some sort of like algorithm driven discovery for like actually finding out what music is popping locally, what has the potential to actually blow up, and like using that as like a source for their A&R and like who they actually go and book. And that might have a lot to say as to like why someone who's a relative outsider like Reggie Snow could break into the US and do stuff there like that, you know?
Well, I mean, I even watched a documentary once. It was a short one. I can't remember where I'd seen it, but it was about independent artists, and it was how like Brent Faiyaz, he was basically using the metrics on Spotify to like determine where he could play shows and make the most money. So like super fans are people that listen to your music on average every day, and he was using that, and he was making to himself like over 35,000 a month. And then he, you know, his manager was getting a cut of whatever it was, but he was able to then cut out like using manager like different guys just so that he could directly bring it to the source, essentially, to the shows.
There's a great like scheme that happened on Spotify once where it actually combines a lot of the bullshit I've been talking about. But the band Wolfpack, they make like funk music, but they put up this album called Sleepify, and it was like 1 minute long silent tracks, and you just put it on loop while you're asleep, and they get the royalties off of that. And like the like selling point is they'd be like, if you play Sleepify on repeat, we will find the cities that do this the most, and we'll do a free tour to those cities based on where the money's coming in from. And they actually like they went and they did that tour, but obviously like Spotify were like, you can't do this, you cannot upload silence and make people listen to it hundreds of times. But like they were like, that was an incredible like it was innovative because they used the metrics, and they made an incentive for people to stream their music so that they could get to see shows for free. It's like Slow Thigh did a fucking 99p tour of the UK.
Basically just get people's email addresses essentially. So
build a mailing list. Like I think that probably the ticketing app Dice, I think they put money into that as well. But like
he's doing a Fiverr one as well now. Although he's like one of my favourite artists, and like so his sound is so raw and gritty, he's just like forced on everybody's throats at the moment. You know, you can't not see him on Spotify, I can't not see him on YouTube. Like it's crazy that he dropped same day as Tyler the Creator, but also has like some backing vocals on Igor as well and stuff like that. Like he dropped into the culture as a moment. I don't know if like I don't know what sort of PR team he has behind him, or what kind of like, I don't know if he's on a label or what his story is, but like the entire campaign around Slow Tie, it's like, I love the music, but like I do have to admit, like it's crazy how he dominates the conversation at the moment. Yeah, I mean he does. He felt like when I first came across him, he felt like so authentic and, you know, so different to anything else. But it does feel very forced now. It almost reminds me a bit of like at one point Dua Lipa, you just couldn't avoid her and it feels the exact same as Slow Tie in a different way. But you know, and anybody that's into alternative music or rap music, you know, you literally can't avoid him. But like that's the funny thing with Dua Lipa is that she was on a couple of like entry programs into the industry for a while, including the YouTube Music Foundry, which is the same one that Kojak's on now. So Kojak billboard up in Times Square, and like, you know, are we about to see that kind of moment becoming accessible for Irish musicians now? I think he's a special kind of artist, though. He is. He like, I mean, going way back, because I saw Kojak play the Bellow Bar in 2016. There was like, Word Up did like a hip hop showcase. It was like Outsider, YP, God Creative, and Kojak, and he was off the back of the Sunday Roast mixtape.
and he was like this was the whole, I think it was around the same time as the Midnight Flower music video and all that, and like it was just a really ambitious project he was building up. But even with all that ambition, even with all of the like intent and like high level like artistry that went into planning the whole thing, I have every reason to believe that no one expected Delhi Daydreams to blow up as much as it did. Because like, I mean, there was this whole thing where for ages he didn't refer to it as an album or an EP. He was like, this is my new project, Delhi Daydreams. And then it was like the Choice Music Prize was making exceptions to get him on the...
So then he called it was then defined an album, basically, wasn't it?
I don't know what the like... I don't know if he calls it an album now, but it was on a short list of like the top 10 Irish albums of last year. And like everyone expected him to win it, and like it didn't come true in the end, but like the lads O Emperor who won it, I've like talked to them. I'm like in their circle, and like O Emperor broke up after they put out the album last year, Jason,
like,
right?
Not together anymore, are they?
But so one of the guys who is in Hausu, Tyke McNeely, who designed the artwork for Deflector and a couple of our other releases, he also designed the artwork for that album, Jason. And like I was talking to Tyke once. He was like, yeah, so like there's a bunch of events with like Spotify people and so on, like in the lead up to the Choice, and the O Emperor lads aren't together anymore, and they're like playing the like one like short set at the Choice, and that's it for them. And they're like saying that like if you wanted to go to these events, you could. I was like, what? Like, yeah, you could like be O Emperor's manager. You could go to these events. Wow. I was like, I mean, I could try that. Yeah, sure. Like, let's try and make it work. And it didn't work because like the people who were in charge of like actually like scoring out these events, like they like I know this Colm guy and he does not manage O Emperor. But so we never got replies to those emails. This entire story.
You have to wear, like a long coat and a mustache and like.
But like I was like, if I was in the room, if I was like being like, oh, you know, like we're very proud of the boys, and you should check out our new collection of artists under Hausu. You'd really, but like if I was in that room when they won the fucking Choice Prize, I'd be like, oh god. Yeah. But like I haven't told that story in public yet, because like I was like, this is like a heist I was trying to pull off at the time. It was like there's like if someone finds out about this,
you fall through that, like yeah.
If I could have been in that room, I would have been, but like we just didn't get any replies on it. And like again, like I think I'm probably glad I didn't like try and deceive a bunch of people into like listening to our things. It wouldn't have been a great look, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's something that's testament to the size of the Irish scene, that like the people who end up winning like the most, like it was allegedly like the most contested year the Choice Prizes had in ages. Like people have said that like it was an incredibly tight decision that went to them in the end. But the fact that the people who made that album like were like in conversation with us being like, yeah, like you can talk to these Spotify people for us. Like, you know, that would have been a great, like if we get to the point where, you know, couple of years down the line that whole thing becomes successful, that would have been a great origin story. But it's not to be that way. And I'm only like, this is the first time I've ever like told that story in public, because I'm like, you know, we got, I think in many ways it's probably better we didn't do that, but it still means that we still feel like there's this door left to unlock really for us to get access to like the right people and like prove our legitimacy. Like, I mean, some will say like maybe the music's just not good enough yet. Maybe like you know, we're not in the right market right now. Maybe the right platform isn't there. But like I really do have hope that like we can get Hausu on the radio. We can get Hausu videos out that like look professional. We can like try and do all of this with no like professional PR and so on. But
I mean,
like
that'd be incredible to complete just purely that sort of independent thing we were talking about at the start.
Yeah.
It's like that would be done in that sort of scene being talking. That would be incredible.
I'd love to do it, but like like the ambition is there, the music's there. Like I've heard a lot of the upcoming stuff, and I'm working on the press releases and stuff for it already, and we're like trying to build up a calendar. Like we're trying to do a busy summer. We're gonna try and do like another Arthur Valentine single. This one, like as much as I love Hausu, right, there's this weird thing about us that like we have a bunch of weird experimental stuff going on. We've got like ambient music, we've got like psychedelic rock over with the Repeater Boys and all that, and then at the same time like we just put out Antoinette, which is like kind of synth pop. We're essentially making a tune for radio with the next Arthur Valentine one. It's called 2018, and like like it's shamelessly like a pop song that we think like could blow up. And like we didn't make it like to get on radio, but now that we have it, it's like no, like let's make it work. Like let's prove that like a bunch of lads from Cork can actually like knock on the door of like the big production houses around the world who's trying to do it. So we've got hopes for that song. We've got, again, the actual acid. We're doing a mixtape or maybe album called Boredom's 400. There's a track that we're going to put out as well, and like a separate single to that, which we made with Marcus Woods, that like I think it's probably my favorite track of either Actual Acid or Marcus Woods, that one. I can't say much about it because like we're still like doing the back and forth, and like between the leaving and some other business in Cork, like we've like not really finished it yet, but like that track I genuinely believe like is going to be a huge moment for us. We've got Mothra coming up, our like first step into hip hop. That's Hassan Baker's project. He's got this like very like high concept idea for how he wants to make his debut, and he doesn't want to like do anything for clout. He doesn't want to be like busy on social media or whatever. He wants the music to stand for itself. I think it's gonna impress people. We have like a concept for a music video that we may or may not shoot for the first 4 songs as well, like a kind of like unified music video. Like it's like I don't know if you like have seen like I guess example is like the one that Invader Slim has, like Mothership, What Hook one, where it's like where like all blends together like the first and second half of it. We want to kind of try and do something like that for the Mothra thing. We just kind of trying to get our resources together, like try and do it on a budget, but like that's there. Automatic Blue, we have an album's worth of Automatic Blue material. We're not putting out an Automatic Blue album. We really wanted to do an album, but the time's just not right for it. So all of that material is coming out, and with that we've got so many remixes planned for that as well. We've got Jar Jar Jr., Alex Goff set for remixes so far. We're looking for another one.
That'd be sick.
The Jar Jar Jr. track is incredible. I'm really like looking forward to getting a mastered copy of that out there as well. Like,
I mean, for me, he's the best producer in Ireland.
I don't think there's any question. Like working with him was like a long-term goal for us, and it was like it was really exciting when he sent him like the stems for his track, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm definitely up for this." Like he sent us back the first draft of that song like in like a night. He like got the stems, and he's got this like really cool like bass guitar that runs through the whole thing, and like it's like very improvisational, but it's like such a like his like style is like it's very loose, it's very jazzy, it's very relaxed, and like he can, like I'm not saying that he can just like throw these out, but like his work rate's incredible, what he can do is incredible, and he's selling beats for next to nothing at the moment. Like I remember he was like on Twitter like advertising beats for sale, and like if you are an Irish rapper and you want to pay for beats, like genuine, get them. But like it's like there's so many people out there. Like I've seen Irish artists who've like bought their beats from like Cash Money AP or whatever, and those have not been good songs. And they've worked more with Irish producers. They've had an actual back and forth about like what they can do, and the quality of the music has just fucking bloomed off the back of that. Like, I mean, I would say, like, I mean, it's fine to be on BeatStars or SoundCloud or like search for type beats on YouTube, because I mean, it works for some people. It works for like Lil Nas X or whatever. But if you actually like build a working relationship with a producer here in Ireland, it will make all the difference. Like
I know I was speaking to Steve Ackle, and he said he's been working on doing some stuff like that with people that he really likes their music, and they're sort of developing their own sound, and a working relationship.
Like we're doing that right now internally in Hausu with Mothra. So all of the first few Mothra tracks are going to be produced by Actual Acid and Automatic Blue, and there's been like so much work that's gone into it. Like the samples that we use, like environment that we're trying to create with the music is like it's been built up like for the last year or so. We've been working on these 4 songs for so long now, but like when they actually come out, like I think they will genuinely, I think that we will have the right landing for it. I think
get a good reception.
Like I've really like I've thought about the fact that we put out some music that like didn't get the reception, like even that Arthur Valentine track with the 30,000 Spotify plays, and that he's like playing his gigs now. We still probably could have done that better, because there's like this really long gap now where he only has 1 song out, and like if we had actually like if we had the other masters ready, if we had like time set up that we could have a summer worth of releases for him or something first. But he's got a lot of songs written. He's got a full live set that he can perform, and we're going to have that recorded, and we'll have something for the summer with it.
That's sick. I mean, like it seems like he's got a lot in the works, and we're Covered a fucking ton. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, we literally, I don't even know. We just went on for ages, but
I'm literally looking at the timer right now, and I know that I have more shit to say, and that's scaring me. You know?
Well, it's been going on for like an hour and 15, but we've got like so much covered, and like it's one of them things where we can definitely have you back another time. And see how it goes.
I'm literally just a train journey away. Like,
but yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, because like this is like my first time like doing like media as Hausu, and like it's been really cool to have this platform and like see if it's something that works.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, thanks for coming along. Been great chat. We covered a hell of a lot, and big ups to Hausu. Check them. I'm gonna put their links in the description. And yeah, thanks for listening. Peace.